So, good evening, friends. Meeting after gap of a day. We have started discussing about the very important part, that is the doctrine of chronic diseases. Doctrine of chronic diseases is very important because it is the unique thing which Hahnemann have discovered in his life. In fact, it is the only thing which has been mentioned very clearly and very thoroughly after a lot of experimentation by him. It is more than what he has discovered the homeopathy, and that's why it has a lot of meaning. So, doctrine of chronic diseases, which he included in the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, in the fourth edition of Organ of Medicine, and he published 2 volumes of chronic diseases in 1828. It took a long time for Hahnemann to reach to those. And we are discussing Hahnemannian concept of understanding the causes of chronic diseases and doctrine of chronic diseases. So doctrine of chronic diseases is nothing but the aspect how Hahnemann reached to find it out, the causes of chronic diseases, first the theory of chronic diseases, followed by the Hahnemannian understanding of chronic diseases. And he reached to 3 important causes. So first cause is nothing but the suppressed skin eruptions leading to form new diseases, to which labeled by name of SORA. Second, the suppressed syphilis, either in the past or family history of the patient, leading to form new disease, to which he labeled by the name of syphilitic disease, syphilitic myasm. And third one, which he explained over there, is the suppressed gonorrhea or figwarts, leading to form to new diseases, to which he labeled by the name of psychotic myasm. I think two out of these two, which we have already discussed, the first two, that is the soric as well as the syphilitic, we have discussed, but we have not reached to the third one. So I will share my screen again. We'll just in short revise the things. So it will be a revision for all of you. So we have started with this. We have started with practical utility of the miasms and the historical review. Already we have discussed the 1790 discovery of homeopathy, 1796 introduction of homeopathy to the world, 1805 medicine of experience, in 1810 the first edition of Organ of Medicine with 259 aphorisms, 1811 Materia Medica Pura, 1819 second edition containing 318 aphorisms, 1824 the third edition of Organ of Medicine containing 320 aphorisms. Then in 1827, he called his 2 students, Dr. Stapp and Gross, to discuss the theory of origin of chronic diseases, discussed with them in detail. In 1828, he published the 2 volumes of chronic diseases. 1829, he added the theory of chronic diseases in the fourth edition of Organ of Medicine. So this was the historical concept. And then theory of chronic diseases, the 5 point which already we have discussed, the law of similars might not be a law of universal application. That was the first thought in Hahnemannian mind when he was not getting the result. Second thought was that the drugs in the homeopathy were not sufficient to cover all the disease condition. That was the second one. The third one, that was there might be an error in the application of law of similars. That was third one. The fourth one, that is the mode of case taking might be faulty. And lastly, there might be any obstacles in the or maintaining causes which were persistent, and failure of removal of which prevented the cure. So he was just looking towards the things with a different aspect. So this was very important for him. So this is what one has to understand very clearly, and we have to go ahead with the aspect with which he has mentioned about it. So we'll learn a few more things, that how he has reached to a further thing. So we'll go ahead with the Hahnemannian aspect. Hahnemann's concept was why he was not getting the result, and when he studied the thousands of cases again and again, he reached to one important aspect, that in 7/8 of cases, he got history of suppressed eruption by some local majors, either in the past or family history, leading to form new diseases, to which he labeled by the name of soric myasm. The The sora is nothing but the burrow, groove, or going inside from outside. It is caused because of the Sarcoptes scabiei mite. Sora is a modern medical dictionary meaning scabies psoriasis. It is itch dyscrasia. The pathol, the itch mite. It is original word is sorat from Hebrew language and converted into the English by sora, meaning a groove, fault, or pollution. Miasms, this definition also he has mentioned over there. Miasms are nothing but dynamic noxious agents which are um, which runs in families from generations together. And this is another meaning which has been mentioned by dictionary is the polluting exaltation. According to discovery of soric miasm, he discovered antisoric remedies and treated the sora with the antisoric remedy. The second one, remaining 1 8 cases, still never answered. So he studied them again in the similar manner. Ultimately, in 60% of cases, out of those 1 8 cases, he got history of suppressed skin erupt, suppressed syphilis, either in the past or family history, leading to form new diseases to be labeled by name of same disease, because syphilis itself is a chronic disease, runs in families, runs in life of the patient, runs through the 4 phases: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, ending with the life of the disease, life of the human being. And that's why he labeled the same miasm with the same name, that is the syphilitic miasm. This name was given to the syphilis disease because the shepherd who was suffered from the whose name was syphilis suffered from same condition, and that his name was given to disease. So it was treated with mercury in the past, and that's why you get many times mercury, bad effects of mercury in your books. In case of paper salt, mercury itself, and he ultimately came out with the king of antisyphilitic remedies, the Merc-Sol, the Syphilinium, the Hydrastis, and ultimately treated the syphilitic virus. Out of which 1/8, the 40% cases were still unanswered. So same study was going on. He has continued with same study, with same logic, with same experimentation to find it out why these 40% out of these 1/8 cases were not getting the result. So he when he reached to find it out the cause, he got one important thing, that there was a history of suppressed gonorrhea or suppressed figworts, either removed by surgical measures or by cauterization, leading to form new diseases, to which he labeled by the name of psychosis. So that was the last thing which he has found it out. So what is the gonorrhea? Gonorrhea is nothing but a venereal disease expressed either in males or females as a yellow mucopurulent discharge per urethra due to Neisseria gonorrhoeae. It is associated with the pigworts, or these are the cauliflower-like words, as develops nearly about the genital. Generally, gonorrhea was considered as acute disease by modern science, but Hahnemann was damn sure that it is not acute, it is chronic in nature. Hahnemann explained to the world that this is chronic, and ultimately, afterwards, modern science also accepted that gonorrhea, there are two varieties, the acute and chronic. When it recurs again and again, it ends into the chronic phase, and they have accepted the Hahnemann concept. So these gonorrhea by local measures, if you treat, or these figworts, if you treat by local means, they gets removed from that place and that enters inside the body, producing new diseases, to which Hahnemann labeled by the name of psychosis. So Hahnemannian concept of this was very typical with the suppression theory. Psychosis is the Greek word, means pig, Hahnemann's term for constitutional effects of gonorrheal virus or pigwort disease. This is the meaning of psychosis. So the name gonorrhea, meaning flow of speed, was first employed by Galen in 130 AD. Accordingly, when he discovered this psychotic miasm, he worked out to find it out again, antipsychotic remedy. And he got already, which he has proved, the first one, that is the thuja, the second one, the medorinum nosode, natrum sulfuricum, and all those were called to be a king of antipsychotic remedy. So Hahnemannian aspect of treating those diseases was very clear, and he came to those conclusion, and he worked out with this much. But Kent was not happy. He said that if you go with this suppression theory, I agree with that, but if you reach toward the suppression, when you go back to find it out from where it has been started, you get the end with syphilis and psychosis, where you cannot find it out earlier psychosis or syphilis history, but you get the SORA every time. And when you reach to the first human being, the SORA was there. So if it is so, how can it be possible? The question was very correct and logical by Kent. And that's why Kent said that this is something different. So where is the birth of all those miasms? That was the concept which was there in Kent's mind. He was thinking a lot. So he was thinking that what Hahnemann said is not wrong. Whatever Hahnemann experimented is not wrong. Whatever Hahnemann's observations were there, they were not wrong. But they are not complete truth. Because if you say they are the separation either in the past or family history, you must get from where it has been started. And that's why Kent worked out with this, and he came out with a different thought, which is called as complete understanding of the miasms. And then we have to go with the Kent's understanding of miasms. Before entering into understanding of Kent's aspect, there is one more terminology which was used by Hahnemann in the aphorism number 73, when he classified the acute diseases into 4 types. He has classified acute diseases into 4 types. The first variety is the individual, or which he labeled by the name of indisposition. The second variety, which he is labeled by the name of sporadic. The third one, the epidemic, and fourth one, endemic. Out of which this indisposition is nothing but the slightest alteration in the state of health due to some exciting cause. This is the indisposition of individual, affection of the disease. Second one, the sporadic, which are because of the environmental changes, the telluric and meteoric experiences causing the disease. The people here and there suffer from those diseases, where susceptibility plays again a vital role. So in these first 2 varieties of acute disease, that is individual and sporadic, susceptibility plays vital role. It depends whether to affect or whether to get affected or not, depends upon the susceptibility. But when you understand the epidemic and endemic, Hahnemann have mentioned that these 2 diseases, epidemic diseases means people here and there suffer from the same disease, same manifestation, same cause, is epidemic disease, and here the cause is acute miasm. The terminology which Hahnemann have used is very clearly the acute miasm. Same thing he has explained regarding the endemic disease. In a particular locality, if many people suffers from the same disease, same manifestation, same cause, it is also called to be endemic, which is persistent in particular area. The terminology which Hahnemann have chosen was the very clear with the acute miasm. His concept was very clear. They are communicable things, invisible to human naked eye, but which are present in modern science. They are nothing but the viruses. They are nothing but the bacteria. They are nothing but the parasites, but those are invisible creatures. So Hahnemann was very clear regarding those. And acute miasms depends, or the epidemic and endemic diseases depends upon the virulence of acute miasm, how much strong they are, how much strength they are having. So because of which in COVID-19, the virus was so strong that even though the person who is having normal susceptibility got affected because of the COVID, because virulence of the acute miasm was very strong. So there are 4 varieties. Out of those 4 varieties of chronic acute diseases, first 2 are dependent more on the susceptibility. The second 2 depends upon virulence of acute miasm. And secondarily, susceptibility plays the role. So this is what the terminology which Hahnemann have used in aphorism number 73. Then what is there in acute miasm? How to find it out? Acute miasm. The instantaneous reaction, the sudden reaction from the patient. Patient comes to you, yes, doctor, there was nothing till morning, today morning, I went for ride, and after I got very much severe draft, and all of a sudden I started running nose, I started getting fever, and I'm in a panic now. You treat me so fast. He's coming to you with acute reaction. The suddenness is the characteristic. It is not long-standing, gradually developing. And that's why the definition of acute disease is very specifically mentioned by Hahnemann in aphorism number 72. So where the diseases, they remain for the period of moderate time, and they enters into only two ends. Either it leads towards, when left to itself, they leads towards either in death or recovery. This is what is labeled by the name of acute miasm, acute diseases. And they are caused because of all those acute miasm. Where the threat is too strong, that means the virulence of acute miasm is too strong, because of which the person suffers. And there is a reflex action. So suddenly there is an attack, the reaction, and that's why it shows the higher susceptibility. Already the person is a higher state of susceptibility, gets attacked because of virulence of the poison, and immediately the reaction is again instantaneous, and it is acute also. And that's why acute miasm with acute disorder, when a patient comes, your generally remedy depends upon the acute totality, and that totality, when matches with your remedy, the pace should match. So if a patient comes in an acute phase, he is coming to you, rushing to you with severe coryza, severe dryness of the mouth, with severe headache, and in panic, is having fever, and this happened just a draft of air. Weather was absolutely dry cold. If this is so, if it happens like that, then your remedy should be so acute. Then your remedy should not be a calcarea. Then your remedy should not be a barretta. Those are the remedies which have a constitutional sphere, which changes the constitution in a very slow manner. Those don't have that pace of acute miasm. And that's why whenever person suffers with any acute disease, specifically when it depends upon the acute miasm, your remedy should have that much of pace. And that's why in acute cases, when you deal with the acutes, your remedies have that paces like aconite, stramonium, then you can have belladonna, then you can have allium cepa, nux vomica. These are very acutely acting remedies. They are not constitutional. They are having their own states. And that pace should be matched. And this is what he wants to explain about the acute miasm, where the sudden and instantaneous instinctive reactions, which you can find it out with this acute miasm. So this is one more miasm one must understand properly. This is too important to understand. So these medicines should be according to the acute miasm. Now we'll turn towards the next one. It's sudden explosion of latent SORA due to some exciting cause. Yes, SORA is in background. Without chronic miasm, acute never comes out directly, because there is big background. The SORA is there always. SORA is called by Hahnemann as a fundamental miasm, which is there with each and every person. Only thing is that it remains in a hidden state, latent state, unless and until some exciting cause happens that never comes it out. And this is what it's called as a sudden explosion of the latent SORA. So acute miasm is a result of SORA. If you treat acute disease with acute remedy, afterwards, when the patient's disease is finished, it is necessary to clear up the background with the help of a anti-soric remedy. So these are things which you must be very clear in your mind. So if a patient who comes to you with a severe acute coryza, for example, patient comes to you with a running nose very acutely, suddenly it develops with lot of lacrimation, with lot of sneezing, and nose is absolutely corroded. And when he enters inside room, the sneezing increases. When he goes into the open air, he feels better. Very clearly, he is giving you presentation of specific acute remedy. So what remedy you are going to prescribe?
Allium cepa, sir.
Correct. Very good. It is allium cepa. Everyone knows this is allium cepa. But if this is allium cepa, then in which potency you are going to give? When patient comes in acute phase, keep it in your mind. He he is higher susceptibility. Should not be given too low. Yes, Dr. Persona, you have said 6. No, 6 will going to take a little bit time to act. If you want the instantaneous result, it's too important. You can go for 200. Or if it is been needed, 1M also. 200 is sufficient because Allium-CIPA itself is having very acute phase. So Allium to CIPA 200, one dose you put and you get the gift because immediately it works. One of my patients who was there, who came from, who to whom I have treated with the lachesis for his chronic asthma bronchitis. And one day he called me, sir, I'm getting severe coryza, and since morning, my 4 handkerchiefs are wet, and it is too much troubling me. I want to meet you immediately. And he was traveling nearly about 30 to 40 kilometers away from me, and he came, entered inside my clinic. He was happy because he said, what has happened, I don't know. When I was there in my house, it was just running, and now I'm okay. And when he said that sentence, and within 1 minute or two, he started arguing the same thing. He started getting acute coryza again, acute sneezing, same. And then he said, this is what happened inside my house. So I have given him a dose of Allium-CIPA, put 1 drop on his mouth, and within a half minute, 30 seconds, he replied, doctor, his reply was very typical. It was in Marathi, doctor, jadoo zali. That's because he got so instantaneous result that he said it is just like a magic. That has been happened. So this is too important. So immediately it worked. So acute miasm, whenever you are dealing, and acute cases, whenever you are dealing, you must think about the remedies which has that pace, and then you get a very instantaneous result. Rustox is the remedy of acute miasm. You open your Borix Remedica, goes to the end Gibson-Miller's remedy relationship, and you will find their action of Rustox 1 to 7 days, Allium-CIPA 1 day. Allium-CIPA, immediately, if patient settles, give him, there are 2 remedies mentioned in Follows Well. Open your book. Find it out. It is Calcarea and Cilicia. I think so. I'm damn sure about it. Just see. There are 2
Maybe
remedies.
phosphorus.
After Allium-CIPA, there are 2 remedies mentioned. Follows Well. It is not complementary. I think so. There is no complementary written in Allium-CIPA. It is Calcarea and Cilicia. It is not given in Allen's. It is given in Borix Medica at the end, where the remedy relationship is mentioned. It is Calcarea and Cilicia. You have to cover or complement the remedy so that will not happen again and again. If you have given Rustox to the patient in an acute phase, when you are dealing with the acute miasm, patient comes to you with severe body ache, severe joint pains, and he was restless, he never slept at night, continuously moving here and there, and he got it because he got wet in rains. His tongue was typically triangular red tip. You observe this and you are selected the Rustox. Here you have to give the Rustox which should penetrate to his bones even in 10M potency. And you have given Rustox. After giving Rustox, the next day after 2 days, patient comes and he is absolutely normal. Then in order to prevent the recurrence, you have to give the Calcarea as a complementary. Rustox, there are 2 important complementaries are given. Open your books again. Find it out. After Rustox, there is Calcarea and Bryonia. These are 2 complementaries, out of which Bryonia is complementing for the rheumatic states. But here the rheumatic state is already settled. So if you want to prevent, you have to give the constitutional like Calcarea. Calcarea covers that state. So these are very important things. When you deal with the acutes, even in a chronic case, if acute comes out, it's a very good thing because with the help of acutes, you can deal with the chronics very easily. This is two important way of understanding. If you are treating any chronic disease and all of a sudden patient starts showing the acute presentation, it's well and good, because you get the way to reach towards the cure with the help of those acutes. Sometimes you are treating patient with calcarea. One of the day he comes to you either with belladonna state or either with Restox, because both are acute complementary states of the calcarea. So if patient enters into belladonna, belladonna will take care of the acute state and patient gets boosted his energy, boosted his immune reaction, and that patient settles a lot. So acute, treating the acute always requires a daring, but if you start treating the acutes, it will be very, very useful for you forever. This is too important. And that's why understanding the acute miasm is another important thing one must not forget. So if a patient comes to you with acute presentation of acid peptic disease, he is showing you typical features. He is getting retrosternal burning with severe eructations and he wants to vomit. He puts his fingers inside his mouth to take it out, and he is quite irritable, quite sensitive because of this, and he is having all those presentations. So he is in acute phase of nux vomica. He comes to you in nux vomica state and you have selected the nux vomica. You have given it repeated doses depending upon situation. Either you have given it 30 or 200. 200 is more than sufficient because nux vomica has a very good action even in 200. So you have selected nux vomica 200, given it to the patient. Within span of 10 minutes, his burning stops and he feels better. And after 2-3 doses, he is absolutely happy. But it never cures. Nux vomica will not going to cure him. Open your books again, find it out how much action is there of the nux vomica. Nux vomica acts only for again 1 to 7 days. It is not a deep-acting remedy. Its phase is acute, but it is not persistent. Here it should be complemented, and depending upon the patient.
Sir, it is
three different miasms.
Sir, also.
Hello.
Sir, also it is written as 15 to 21 days in Noxvom, sir.
It is given if you open in Borix Materia Medica.
Borix.
Borix Materia Medica.
It is written as
Gibson
1
Miller.
to 7 days or
no, there is no or. It is only 1 to 7 days. It is 1 to 7 days. Even if you open it separate book by Gibson Miller, you will find same. If you open it in Kent's repertory, again you will get the same. It is the same action because nux is very acute. Nux is not chronic.
In Borix Materia Medica, it is written as 1 to 7 days or 15 to 21 days.
No, if it is a printing mistake in your book. It should not be because it's very acute. 1 to 7 days is right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So 1 to 7 days, and if you find it out that and patient settles, there are 3 different complementaries from 3 different miasms. You open again Borix Materia Medica, find it out remedy relationship. One remedy is from the soric miasm, the sulfur as a complementary, from the psychotic miasm, Kali Carb as a complementary, and from tubercular miasm, the sepia is the complementary. So these are 3 from 3 different miasms. Depending upon your patient, you can complement it with one of the remedies. You get very easy way when you treat the acute, you get the way how to go ahead. This is too important. One must understand all those things. At the same time, one must understand what is the remedy relationship at the level of complementary as well as inimical. If you open the Apis mellifica, you will find it out over there, the Natramur as a complementary, but Restox as a inimical remedy, because Restox and Apis have similar types of action. But Apis and Natrum is a big part of the, out of which the Apis remains. So Apis covers part of it, complemented very nicely with the help of Natrum muriaticum. So this is what we have to understand. When you deal with the acutes, you understand many more things. And that's why understanding this acute miasm is one of the important things. There are many remedies mentioned under that, aconite, belladonna, Vivicimus, stramonium, all those remedies are there. We have, and accordingly, Hahnemann have treated all those. Acute was very early miasm which Hahnemann have treated. From tomorrow onwards, we'll understand this another aspect of Kent. Kent has absolutely explained it in a different manner. And Kent's understanding of the miasm gives you an in-depth understanding of human being. So there is a lot of difference with the Hahnemannian concept of miasms and Kentian concept of miasm. Hahnemann deals with the separation theory, which is found to be a very superficial but very perfect observational theory. And Kent explains the reason behind those, the human being at the level of Sora, at the level of psychosis, at the level of syphilis, at the level of mixed miasm, and those we have to learn in those lectures. From tomorrow onwards, we'll start with the Kentian aspects. Before that, if you have any queries, we can discuss that for 5 minutes and then we'll stop. So whatever your queries are there, I've stopped sharing so that we'll have a chat.
Sir, in Rostock's, it is complementary is either Bryonia or Calcarea cup.
Correct.
So in complementary, what dose should be given, sir? If Calcarea cup.
It depends. It is again dependent upon what how the patient is presenting. It depends upon patient constitution. It depends upon patient mental makeup. It depends upon patient's pathology. It depends upon the susceptibility of the patient. Accordingly, you have to judge. It might be 30, it might be 200, it might be 1 m, it might be 10 m, depending upon situation. It is not fixed. You cannot make it fixed. You have to, when you are dealing with the patient, you have to judge all those things. You have to understand how much susceptible the person is.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other query? All the videos will going to get uploaded of those Organon. Already, I think 4 or 5 we have finished today. Organon lectures. Those who have not yet attended the earlier lectures, they should go through that so that the base will be get cleared in their mind regarding the Organon. And second thing, even those who have attended, my suggestion is that you read it, you listen it again, because of which it makes the concepts very clear. And once your concepts are clear, you can deal confidently in patients. So Organon is the subject which gives the confidence to you and it boosts your energy. So my suggestion to all of you is go through that. Second important thing, in Divine School, those who have not joined the Divine School of Homeopathy. Today again you are going to learn something new in this session. What is new, I will not going to disclose because it is a different aspect we are going to learn in today's session at 9 o'clock by Dr. Saurabh, and he will going to present a case along with that so that you will learn a lot. And many thanks for all the people who are there in this session. Harshal is always there. There are Ali. Good evening, Ali. How are you? Dr. Anita.
Good evening, sir. Fine.
So, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
Okay.
Enjoying your lectures, learning every day new things.
Thank you. So, Kajal, then Madhu, Mohini, Pankaj. Pankaj Singh, I'm happy to see you over here. Payal, she's always there. Or Priyanka, Purnima, Rutuja, Shruti. So, many people who are there. Thank you very much. And tomorrow we'll meet at the same time with the same session. And we'll have many lectures with miasms because we have to understand the aspects in detail. So till that period, thank you very much for attending session. We'll meet again tomorrow. Thanks a lot.